Hello, and welcome to Speaking of College of Charleston. I'm Amy Stockwell from University Communications, and on today's episode, we're diving into a topic that's both timely and timeless: how we listen and talk to one another. I'm joined by students from the Civility Initiative's Free Expression Fellows program, a group dedicated to fostering respectful dialogue on campus. These students are helping lead the way in creating spaces where disagreement doesn't mean division and where curiosity, empathy, and understanding take center stage. So welcome. Thank you all for being here. Let's go around in a circle and have everybody introduce yourselves. We start with you, Maddie.
I'm Maddie Johnson. I'm a senior from Vermont, and I'm a political science major with a sociology and women and gender studies minor.
Hi, my name is Lulu McDowell. I'm a senior here at the college, and I'm a political science major with a concentration in politics, philosophy, and law.
Hi, I'm Allie Johnson. I'm a sophomore here at the college. I'm a political science major with a concentration in politics, philosophy, and law, and a minor in crime law and society.
Great. Thank you all for being here. So let's start with the basics. What drew you, for listeners who might not know much, if anything, about Civility Initiative, what drew you to the initiative and the Free Expression Fellows program? And what does being a Free Expression Fellow mean exactly?
For sure. So actually this program kind of started from a simple conversation. Me and a couple other people from Student Government Association listened to Michael Lee talk about the Civility Initiative itself and being able to disagree across differing beliefs. And then we were like, we want to get students involved. So that what drew us to the program. We wanted us to actually make change on the student level and not just faculty and not just, the overarching of the college, but actually students interacting with other students. So this year-long fellowship is going to be a great program even moving forward. So right now, I know we're doing some training and some meetings right now getting set up for next semester, but I know we have a lot of events planned for next semester if someone else wants to talk about that.
And just to interrupt for a second, you said student government. You're on student government? You're part of that?
I was a freshman senator last year, and this year I'm a sophomore senator and the communications director.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Lulu or Maddie, maybe you can tell us about some of the some of the events that are coming in the spring.
Yeah, of course. So we have kind of divided them into three categories, so to say. So we have our low stakes, our medium stakes, and our high stakes. So for our low stakes, this would include tabling and just inviting students in to have some sort of discussion. And it doesn't necessarily need to be about a divisive topic, but just get that conversation going. And for our medium stakes, that is more focusing on facilitating discussions with people that have opposing views from your own and teaching the skills that are necessary to have a healthy debate and still be respectful to the other person. And if you want to talk about the high stakes.
Yeah, and then our high stakes events are going to be more events that you could say you have to put yourself out there a little bit more. So the first thing we've talked a lot about is like debate a professor. Mm-hmm. So we have a professor who maybe has a table, or maybe it's an event in like a big performance hall, and we pick topics. And so it's more of a public event where there's more people and there's a little bit more at stake per se. And that is just meant to get students out and to have these conversations. We've talked about a lot of different examples of this. Maybe it's us sitting somewhere and we have a board with a question or a statement and we say, let's talk about it, let's debate about it. So those are kind of more high stakes events that we're going to have later on next semester that are going to kind of encourage, once we've done the more low and medium stakes, students to really come out and engage and get excited and learn, having learned those skills, be able to learn or use what they've learned in these events.
Exactly. That's brilliant. So to create a picture in my head, a tabling event, just for people who maybe don't know what that would look like, that's just literally tables set up on campus with flyers or a couple of you sitting there telling people about the fellowship program. And then facilitating discussions with people of opposing views. Like, what does that look like? How would you even make that happen?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question,
So something we actually talked about in our meeting right before this, we were talking about with low stakes and tabling, how every single event and the stake for the event matters on the topic. So tabling can be low, medium, or high stakes, but what we are focusing on with the low stake events is maybe having like, does pineapple belong on pizza? That's the hot take. And having people just come up, maybe just be like, oh, this is not good. And then also getting information about the program. While these medium stake events could be these professor conversations. Like something we've talked about is having 2 professor debates, one being more of like a conversation where they can walk around to a table, maybe a question that caters more to the area of study the professor comes from. So I prefer chemistry over biology, something like that, or even talking about like, does pineapple belong on pizza? And letting students actually, maybe get a slice of pizza on the way in and then have these conversations versus these like, when we change those kind of discussions and debates into a high stake event, it's those hot topics. It's the, maybe we have different student organizations with different beliefs up there, having a structured debate. And I think that's really what changes the
That's
stake
a great
of the
point,
events.
right?
Yeah.
Is the topic itself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for explaining that. And so this semester, there are 10 of you, correct? 10 students as part of the fellowship? I think 9 or 10?
Yes.
And so this whole fall, you have been and continue to be having classes with Professor Lee and learning about these skills, right? And then so spring semester is like putting everything into action.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Implementation of the skills that we've learned.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into some more details, I guess. In your experience, what's the difference between a productive disagreement and a destructive one? And how do you navigate that line in class discussions or with friends and family?
This is something we've been talking a lot about in our training and also just when we come together. And we've done some really wonderful trainings that have really been people-centric in terms of sitting down, listening, understanding experiences. And I think that's what makes a debate either productive or destructive. And that's a very fine line. And that can be really hard to understand. And that's why I love the training that we've gotten, because we are learning where that line is, how to find it, and what to do when maybe we cross that line. And so effective debate is going to have a reliance on experiences of the person who you're having a conversation with, trying to understand them one-on-one. So maybe you start the conversation with, does pineapple belong on pizza? And then you get to those higher stakes questions, but you don't start at that high stake.
Right.
It's like jumping into the freezing cold water without wading in first. So it's finding that starting point with experience and perspective, being honest and open, asking questions, and also being open to maybe changing your mind. Maybe you don't change your mind, and that's okay too. But being open to that, I think being kind is really important. And we've talked a lot about open-ended questions. So asking, why do you feel that way? What has happened in your life? What are your experiences to make you feel that way? Because a destructive debate is going to ignore the humanity of the person you're debating, as well as the other person ignoring your humanity. Because a lot of the beliefs we have are centered in our experiences and our life experiences and who we are fundamentally as humans. So that's what makes debate so tricky, because it's personal. It's always personal. Even if it's pineapple on pizza, someone might have a personal antidote about that. And so that understanding the humanity of the other person and acknowledging that and trying to understand that, I think, is so crucial. And that's the difference between destructive and productive debate. And so I think, like I've kind of said, you navigate that line by creating a baseline, asking questions, being open, and trying to understand the person who you're sitting across from.
And do you guys talk in class at all about like things like, in a conversation, when it starts to get heated, I'm thinking about Thanksgiving is coming soon. People
Christmas,
are going to be sitting down at the table for sure with people with opposing views. And like, I think logically in our heads, we can know how to have a debate with somebody with different views. But when you're in the moment and you're having a conversation, and if you start to feel threatened or like you're not being heard, like, do you guys talk about that at all in class? Taking a breath or ways to navigate once it does reach kind of a boiling point?
Yeah, I mean, it's those like animalistic responses of the fight, flight,
Yes.
fawn,
Freeze.
right?
Yes.
Freeze, fawn, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that. And Professor Lee, like, he has that in his presentations when he's giving these
heard him talk,
presentations. So I think that's super important because we all, I don't know, I'm very non-confrontational, so I'm kind of the person who will fawn
Me
and
too.
freeze. But I'm also very, I will hold firm in my beliefs, and I'm not afraid to kind of talk about them and have those conversations. So I think we have talked about that. And that's important too, right? Because we are trying to be models, so we have to hold ourselves accountable, and that is hard. I mean, we are 20. We're early 20-year-olds.
You're babies.
You know, like I feel old as a senior. Like when I'm talking to Allie, I'm like, oh my gosh, you baby! Like we're only 2 years. Like I'm not that much older than you, but we also there's a lot of emotional regulation that comes with what we're doing in learning these interpersonal skills for ourselves as well.
And something I want to say to that too is there's a training that exists that we're trying to get as a pilot program out called the Perspectives Training. Oh. And actually when I did it last semester to kind of gauge if this would be helpful or not. And I think it actually gives you scenarios. Like, if someone's shouting at you, like how do you respond to that? And sometimes that's the great thing about learning our specific skills. It's not just, okay, in every situation this is how we handle it, but like sometimes it's just, hey, like this conversation can't continue, and being humble and like, okay, this person's not gonna have this conversation, and it's okay to walk away. And that's the hard thing is, we want to facilitate and we want people to engage, but sometimes being humble and walking away will teach them more than trying to get to an understanding. And that's why agreeing to disagree, and when we choose to disagree, because that's normally, the route we're taking, I think that's why it's so important.
That's a great point. Well said. And that kind of segues into what we're gonna, the next question, which is, what's more important in a conversation, facts or personal experience?
This perfectly bounces off of both what Allie and Maddie are saying. I think that experiences are just so important. That is the basis for, why you believe the things that you do. I'm very strong with my beliefs, and I'm very proud of how much I believe in my beliefs. I'm sorry, that wording does not make sense. But one example I can think of is I was recently catching up with a friend who's currently in the military. He has an extensive background in his family in military. So we have very opposing beliefs on a lot of major issues today. But we were still able to have a healthy conversation and, greet each other with respect and still remain respectful while we're discussing things that, could negatively impact me or him. And so I think it's just really important to always remember that there are experiences that underlie someone's belief, no matter what that belief may be.
So facts being less important and trying to get to know why the person thinks the way that they do.
Exactly. And I think also when you are in the heat of a moment in the debate and you're going back and forth and, the tensions are starting to rise, you might not be able to clearly hear the facts and accept them and be able to pivot with that information. I think if you help humanize each other and rely on those experiences, that is how you can find the common ground and have a productive dialogue and debate with each other.
I'm convinced that there has to be some source of common ground, whether it's just
I agree.
that you both like coffee, or that love playing tennis or something. I feel like if we try to find those connections that they exist, you just have to stretch a little bit to find them. But if you can hold on to that common ground. Okay, so next, what advice would you give? You guys have learned so much already, and this is the inaugural year of this program, and it will continue on after you all leave. So what advice would you give to incoming students who are nervous about speaking up in a class or in a club or on social media when their views might not be well received?
This is my favorite question. This is something that I talk about a lot because, in my opinion, do it. Because, when it feels as if there's an overwhelming opinion on something, if everyone in the room believes that blue is the color of the sky, but you think it's purple and you see purple, how is there going to be any form of dialogue or disagreement if you don't speak up? If there's only ever one belief or viewpoint, if there's only ever one perspective or one, constructive, this is what we're coming to, without you speaking up in that difference of opinion, then then we don't get to do what we get to do. I think the reason we do our work is so these students can speak up. I know in my personal experience, I've been in that position, feeling as if I can't. Like sitting in a classroom and being like, I don't want to answer this question the professor's asking. And that's a hard place to be in, but just because you feel nervous, or even if you're in a club, if it's something you're passionate about and something you have an opinion about, speak up, because you can even be the change in creating that discourse and facilitating. And just, I think one of the greatest things is being around challenging beliefs. I actually grew up in an area that didn't have a lot of that, but my friends did. My friends were very different than me, so I had to seek that out. So if you're choosing to come here, whether you just like the school, whether you just like, and then you realize, oh, well, maybe in this specific area, like I wasn't prepared for this, or maybe this is something I don't talk about. Maybe politics is something I don't talk about. But if it's anything, you should speak up. I think that's the greatest thing, and what we get to watch is hopefully this change actually promotes more dialogue and discussion and more students involved, because there is just 10 of us right now. But, we're hoping maybe this could bleed into the student organization level. This could bleed into more students being added to the program. I think it's just beautiful to talk about what happens if you don't speak up. That's the scary thing, not more people speaking up. So I think do it is always my answer.
And doesn't it make it more interesting, too? Just, I love your anecdote about the color of the sky. Like, I would love to be around people who think the sky is purple.
Exactly.
Tell me,
we should be seeking
tell me more. Yeah,
I totally agree.
It's boring when we all have the exact same experience, the exact same opinions on things, right?
Well, and there's no intellectual
stimulation.
Yeah, challenge. I'm much the same way. I seek out kind of opposing point of views, because I do want to sit across the table and ask, why do you feel that way? Mm-hmm. What experiences in life have shaped how you feel? So I totally agree. I think that saying something is 100% the right thing to do, and that's brave and that's courageous, and I understand if people are hesitant to do that. But again, mirroring what Allie said, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give students this space to have these conversations that are not hard. We understand that. We know these are not hard conversations, and we also understand that, as 20-year-olds in college, we are, doing something that's very unique, and we have all chosen to do this. So I think that if we can do it, anyone else can do it, and that's hopefully something that, we can see. I know, Lulu and I were graduating in May, but I'm really hoping that, Allie and all the other kind of younger fellowship students, that they can keep working on that, and we can see that in campus, kind of, as we come back and we get more years out. That's what I want to leave this school, and I think that that's something I would feel really, really proud leaving this school with.
Mm-hmm. And I want to add, if you're a student who wants to speak up in a situation where they feel, uncomfortable doing so, I want to remind them that everyone came to college to learn, and you can't learn unless you are in an environment where you're hearing contrasting opinions and you have the ability to have that discussion on them. And I believe it is a student's shared responsibility to be able to speak up, but not shout those differing opinions they may have.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, you all are very impressive and admirable. And I think, too, what's important is the work that you're doing, each exercise you do, each interaction you have with other students or with people from the community, each time someone, makes a small effort to talk about things that are challenging, each time it gets easier. So you start with, like you say, the pineapple pizza question. You start there, and then next time you might feel a little bit more confident talking about something, a little bit higher stakes. So lastly, what I want you all to talk about is, it was very exciting. We had PBS NewsHour on campus a couple weeks ago, which was a big deal, and they came and wanted to tell a story, talk to you guys, and so they came on campus and interviewed you. And so I want to hear what it was like to be a part of that conversation. How did it feel to represent the College of Charleston on a national TV program? It was a big deal.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was so proud of everyone. Like, it was really so interesting for me to, remember the Zoom meeting I had back in May being like, where is this going? And me and, Professor Lee being like, where are we taking this? And then it going from that in just a few months and being on the national level was a beautiful thing to witness. And I think a lot of the conversations that came out of out of that news hour, like talking to Judy Woodruff herself and seeing that there was other people on the national level who even cared what we were doing. And I think it was just a beautiful experience to even watch, like, our normal conversations we have in all of our meetings being projected on that national level. And actually, for other people to see that, hey, this exists. Like, I feel like there's so many headlines and articles about how the divide is growing. And even in the news segment, that was part of where the focus went, is these debates we're watching and these influencers. And some of that can get really overwhelming. But seeing that there's students and there's multiple of us and we're just having conversation and hanging out and really trying to understand each other. And I think that was just, I felt so proud of my school, because I know even a few months ago it was a little scary to think about if this kind of program would even flourish. And like there was a lot of pride for sure in my school and just in our program, and being able to be like, we're trying to fix it, so other people should too.
And Lulu, I know you were sadly unable to be there for the filming, but Maddie, I remember you were there, and
yeah, it was really cool. I agree. I think I was just really proud of us and what we've done, and we've worked so hard, and we when Professor Lee, we met for the first time, he told us this is going to be essentially another class on your schedule. This is, you have homework. Like,
this is a commitment.
It's a commitment. This is not like we meet once a week for an hour. This is a big thing, and we worked really hard to get to this point. So I totally agree with Allie. I definitely felt more so just pride in us as a collective group, and just being together. And yeah, like Allie said, being able to show the world that this is what we do every other week. We sit down for an hour and we talk about these things, and we are students, but we're also students who are trying to do something really productive for our school. And it was super cool. It was a little weird. I don't know if I'll ever quite get used to watching yourself on screen, but it was a really cool experience, and it's fun to be able to walk out of college saying that was something I got to be a part of. So I was very appreciative of it, and I was just really proud that we all got to sit in one room together and show the world what we do.
And wouldn't it be fabulous if other people seeing this and thinking, maybe this is something we could get going in our university, on our campus,
I actually, so 2 weeks after that, I attended a national dialogue convention at the University of Delaware along with 2 other students, and that was the first time CofC had ever been there. And I heard from big universities, little universities, but we were kind of like a minority. Like, our kind of school and the way our school functioned was very different from even the student panel that they had. And we actually talked a lot about, my group had free speech, and that was really cool because we're free expression fellows. But after that, I was able, I felt like I could brag a little bit and being like, hey, we're trying. We may have had not a good history of this in the past, and I would say that we don't, and that's why this work is so important and moving forward and making change. And so, but I was able to brag and be like, no, we're trying. I come from a fellowship. I'm not just, it's not just, because I know some students attended, just because a professor recommended them, but it's I represent a fellowship that's trying to fix the problem. I know we're FEFs, but I like to call us fixers. I know that's hard, but we are really the ones making the change and trying to inspire other people. So I think I love that it's on the national level, but it's also important to focus on that, exactly what Maddie was saying. We're doing this all the time, and that's just a small snippet. And I would encourage people who even saw that, or I've talked to family, friends, and whatever, oh, we were on national television, but come to our events next semester. Look at what we're doing. Follow us. I mean, it's going to keep changing. And I'm, again, really sad you guys are leaving us. But I think moving forward, it's inspiring to know that, there's been people here at this school for 4 years that really just want this fixed now, and they're still choosing to be a part of that. So I'm just really excited and really proud.
So to that point, that's a great way to talk about where people listening, where they can find out more information about the fellowship program and also events coming up. And what's the best place? Where can people find out more information about you all and the work you're doing?
Yeah. Well, the Civility Initiative has an Instagram, so you can find us there, and all of our events will be posted on Instagram. And then you can also check on the Civility Initiative's page via the College of Charleston website. And Also, I think, I don't want to speak for you guys, but like, if any, we are always open to have these conversations and talk about it. So like, I agree. I do carry some pride in knowing that I'm a part of this organization. So I would always encourage students, if they know who we are, to ask us questions. So we're always at the events, or we try to be if we can. So, but Instagram and then the webpage on the College of Charleston is the best place to find events. And then if you see us, like, seriously, come talk to us. We're nice
gonna
and
have
friendly.
merch.
Yes.
We are going to have
I was
merch.
going to say you need to walk around campus with shirts
I
on
know,
all the
yes.
time so people
Hopefully
can
with
find
the
you.
booths, when we get like outward
Yes,
facing,
we're
we
also
can
going to
give
have
away.
merch, and we're going to have, I think the great thing about it is, too, they're updating the Civility Initiative, like the Via the College of Charleston, with our names and stuff on them.
Yes.
Oh,
So
good.
Come find us.
For us.
literally seek us out. Seek it out. And that's what I'll say about every opportunity. Always seek it out.
And I'll make sure that we put all of this stuff in our show notes so
Perfect.
people can find more information about you. So thank you all so much for coming in. It was great to meet you and talk to you and learn more about the amazing work that you're doing on campus. It's really fantastic. And so if you're a student and interested in learning more about the Civility Initiative or how to get involved in conversations, check out the resources in our show notes. And as always, thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Speaking of College of Charleston. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. Thank you.